Hello and welcome. I'm so glad to have you here with me. It's time for something new, and it's a matter of actually being new, which is a matter of being now. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you, first of all, to this very precious space. I mean, the only place really where we can exist is now. And now is really new, which is really a matter of being new. And that is something that I want to learn myself, and I hope also I can convey this a little bit in this video. Is the idea of, well, being now is a matter of being new, is a matter of what we realize, out of which we actualize. In other words, what we think about creates our reality. Most of us would agree with that. It actually does make sense. For example, like the idea also that life is a school and we're also here to learn something in this school. But to learn and to be new, to put awareness into practice, to not just realize but to actualize, that is really the missing link, and that is something very, very difficult. I mean, I myself have been realizing for many, many years. I started this YouTube channel in 2006 when I still lived in San Francisco and talked about this awareness. But to live this is a totally different story, and I think that's really where it begins. That is really the missing link, is the actualization, which is the practice. And so this is the point of the practice. This is the point of realize to actualize, which is an idea, which is really where it begins, to know what is it that I realize. What do I know for myself? What have I really learned? And what do I want to learn in order to create change? And I think we all want to create change. We all want something better. We all want to be loved. We all want to be respected and to be appreciated. And we all want to be happy. I think we human beings are actually more alike than we are different. Yet we are so divided. Yet we are all struggling side by side to trying to get somewhere. But it is really that, always trying to get somewhere, which keeps us really from understanding that actually now is the only time that I can be. Now I am who I am, and I need to be that. I need to be myself. I need to free myself from that which is controlling me. And let's just be honest. I mean, we all are controlled by that which we do not like. We all are controlled by schedules. We all are controlled by negativity around us. We all react to negativity. We all react to things that we don't like, and we're trying to reject that. As we're trying to, also in this world, we human beings, we are fighting against the injustice, we're fighting against the corruption. We are fighting against the corrupt leaders, the war outside of us, and we are revolting against that. Countless revolutions have been fought against that. But as we're doing this, we basically just give this power, and the revolution is always against that which we do not want. It is just like that in our personal lives, and we just always like this against what we trying to reject, what we don't like, what we are opposing. It's always that, which actually gives it more power. That's why these things keep happening again and again and again. And so I really believe it's time to make peace, to understand that we cannot change things outside of us. It is impossible to also change other people, but we can only change ourselves. And I'm not here to tell you how to do that, of course, because I'm not here to change you. I cannot change you. But I've come to find that change is really the way. Whereas Gandhi said we must become the change we want to see in this world. But how can we do that if we keep on fighting the same old battles? Actually, I really believe it's time to make peace. To accept that the world is the way it is because we have created it that way. With all the injustice, with all the corruption, with all the poverty, with all the war. And it really begins there in our personal lives to understand that our life is just the way that it is because that is how we created it. And we can only recreate it, we can only change it as we begin to change ourselves. As we begin to look at things in a different way. As we realize things differently. As we realize new things, we gain new realizations. As we change our inner world, our outer world will change. Also this you probably have heard before, and maybe even this you will agree with. Actually, I think it does make sense. But again, how do you put that into practice? That is really the missing link. And that is what I like to draw attention to here with Realize to Actualize, is to really begin on the practice every day to shift our awareness, to shift our attention, to not just always focus on the problem. And it's so easy to focus on the problem. It's so easy to see only what we do not like. Well, in that mindset, of course, we always bring more to that. Even though we reject something we don't want, we want to push it away. but by doing it, it never goes away. It keeps on coming to us until we learn that we cannot change this. We can only change how we deal with it. We can only change how we react to it. We can only change what we realize. If we realize the war outside of us, if we realize how stupid people are, how ignorant people are, how selfish people are, if we realize, if we only see, for example, in our environment, in our circle of friends, we see how people are superficial. If that is what we realize, we give it power. So instead, we can begin to shift our awareness, we can shift our consciousness. And that is really where change begins, as we realize, okay, the people are around us, they are perfect. They do exactly what they need to do. But we only can see that if we stop comparing other people to ourselves, if we stop focusing on how we want people to be, which I think is also a great challenge for us human beings, because we all have a tendency to only see what we like. And we only pay attention to others as long as we hear what we want to hear. And many times when something is happening that we don't like, we reject that and we're trying to push it away, and we even fight that and we try to change it outside of us. But if we let go of our need to change things outside of us, wow, that's really when change begins. That's when we can really unfold in our greatness. And let me just also remind you, I'm speaking here from experience because I know how difficult this is. I'm working on this still. After all these years of having gained this realization, of have coming up with the idea of realize to actualize in 2004, which is more than 14 years ago, oh my gosh. But to live that, so realize to actualize is here to remind you of that. In order to get there, we need to practice. Every day we need to practice. And there is really no school for that. There is no teacher who can teach us that. Nobody can really actually teach us anything. Aside from, of course, book learning, academics, we can, of course, benefit from a teacher greatly. We can also benefit from the experience of others. Maybe even you benefit, and I really hope that you benefit from some of the things that I'm saying here. But ultimately, the only thing that makes a difference is for you to put that into practice, for you to live that. Every day, every moment, letting go of your need to change people around you. And think about that. If you actually do that, if we do that, if I do that, stop arguing with people. We can learn that. We don't need to argue. Why do we need to argue? You know, argue is like fighting a battle we cannot win. It's like war. How can you ever win a war? It's impossible. But the background behind why there's actually war is because war is business. That is also the harsh reality we need to look at. To understand how the matrix works, that we're all part of the matrix. The system which controls everything. The system we are part of. Where there's politics, there's religion, there's the economy, of course. It's all about selling. We have become consumers and producers. And we're all looking for something outside of us. So we've become conditioned and programmed by this matrix. But as we have become conditioned and programmed by this matrix, we also have developed our own matrix. Our own program, which we follow every day. It's the way we think, really there, that we repeat the same patterns over and over. We react in the same way. And we all follow the routine. We all live in our own comfort zone. Our convictions, our beliefs, our worldview, our philosophy is just that. Our personality actually has developed from a very young age on. And we stop changing, then we have stopped changing, and we then look for change outside of us. I mean, let's be honest, we all do that. We all look for something better outside. But the journey actually has come to an end. As we realize, I am perfect. We all are perfect just the way we are. That goes for all the beautiful people and the wonderful people and loving people that you know in your life. Just as well as the horrible people who do horrendous things, the criminals, the dictators, the Illuminati, the Bilderbergers, the Trumps of this world. They all just play their part. They all just fulfill their function. They're not really the problem. We cannot really fight them. Because they have been just born into this consciousness and they just relive the program over and over and over, just like ourselves. It's like a computer program we're all part of. I really believe, though, we are here in this world to help each other. And this is very different from nowadays, how many times I find this also rather disconcerting, or rather alarming, that many times we take advantage of each other and we just use people or look for people who can give us what we want from them. As friends also, we look for people who are the way we want them to. I mean, that's just like normal, quote unquote. And we measure people in terms of how well they can live up to our expectations of them. I think that starts from as young children. We already learned that. We are only as good and we only appreciated by our parents and by our teachers and by our friends if we are the way they want us to. And so we grow up just the same way. We're just looking for people who are the way we are. But if that's the case, we never change. Because we're just trying to feed ourselves in terms of, give me what I want from you. See, this is not help. I think help is really a matter of understanding, first of all, which also brings me to an important point here, which also you have heard as well. Many others have said this before. The most important thing in life is really to gain true knowledge of self. Most people do not know themselves. We never learned that, of course. We never had time for that. Because we were conditioned and programmed to be like everyone else. But it's time to really give birth to that, to who we really are, to our true nature, which is really magnificent. And we all are magnificent. We all have so much potential that we never realized. The situations of our lives have never brought them forth, that potential. What was required of us is to sit still, be obedient, follow orders, do a good job, be a good student, be a good worker, and then you get a reward. But what happened with our humanity? We have compromised our humanity for the sake of just being socially acceptable. But if you look at our society, all of the different societies in this world, be it here in Germany or in the United States, also I'm working with many people in Africa. I actually just made a live video about that, where this year we have started an organization. We officially registered in Africa, trying to help people there to learn how to help themselves. Because the system they're growing up with, there is actually enough for everyone. If it weren't for a couple of greedy people who are trying to just take all the wealth, and who are also trying to manipulate the masses, to play the masses against each other so they can benefit from this chaos. They also then create war, because war is business, while the masses suffer. So that is that old consciousness that in a way we all operate in for ourselves. We all are like this. We go like this through the world. Focus on what we want. We don't really see what is, we don't see the reality as it is, we only see what we want to see. And that's really where we can change, as we really begin to open our eyes, to learn to see things as they really are, to see other people the way they really are. Not the way we want them to or need them to, but see them in their entirety. One person who has really inspired me greatly about this is Erich Fromm. You might have heard of him. If not, you might want to look him up. F-R-O-M-M, and the first name is Erich. He's a German philosopher who was born in 1900 here in Germany. And much what I've also learned is from the American self-development industry, which I began studying in the mid-90s. I've become very, very inspired by Deepak Chopra, for example, or Dr. Wayne Dyer, or Anthony Robbins, people like that. There are countless workshops and books that have been written, to excite people about that, to get people to really be successful. But I also have come to find it's more about, developing a personality so you will get the life you want to live. So it's also rather selfish and rather superficial. So what I'm trying to provide here is actualize goes a little bit deeper to an understanding of who are we really, and how can I really develop my nature, my true nature, my authentic nature. Who am I really? And there John Stuart Mills has said something which really also has given me the missing link. As he said that human beings, we're not machines to be built to do exactly the work prescribed for it, but we're like a tree. And we need to grow and develop naturally according to the inward forces which make us a living thing. And to understand it, to understand what those forces are and how can we direct those forces in order to give birth to our true nature. I think that's what we're here to learn. That's where we create the change. The new change of this world begins there, as we become more connected to who we really are. Not how others want us to be, not how our society wants us to be, how our governments want us to be, not even how our friends want us to be, but who we really are, to be true to ourselves. I think that's really the key. And that is really to find that truth, which will really set us free, which comes from true knowledge of self. free yourself to be yourself. And that is also the foundation of kein Ding, which is the German phrase which means actually nothing or no thing. Also the idea that I am not a thing, like love is not a thing, it's not outside of me. God is not a thing. Happiness is not a thing outside of me, or peace or freedom. These are human qualities which exist within myself, and only there I can find them and develop them in order to then practically apply them. And that is something that I like to invite you to begin on that practice for yourself. Yeah, I hope that some of what I shared could be of benefit to you, and if you'd like to learn more, and maybe I can even be there along the path as you like to really develop yourself, as you really try to understand who you really are and how can you be more true to yourself, how can you really begin on the practice. Also in terms of if you like to, for example, improve your German or learn German. Also that is really kein Ding. All is a matter of the practice. Also if you like to learn to be more patient, if you like to learn to be less argumentative, less agitated, if you like to be more happy, more content, more open, more tolerant, all of these things can be learned. But it's, well, learning, yeah, it's because it's not really a traditional sense of learning, it's more like a remembering, because we were these things already when we came into this world as children. If you just look at children, you can understand our true nature. Before we became conditioned to just be like everyone else and to develop certain qualities which are necessary in order to be successful in this world. But through this, we have lost touch with our humanity, we have lost touch with ourselves, and we have lost touch with one another. And I really believe it's time for us to come together and to unite, to be as one, because we all are one. And everyone you ever meet is just another reflection of you, is another version of you. And so I really hope that I can become that mirror to you through which you can see yourself more clearly. I really appreciate your time. My name is Christoph, I'm here in Germany, but I'm just a phone call away, I'm just a Skype away or an email away. I like the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But the teacher is everywhere. Every experience is there to help you learn valuable lessons and gain important insights. How to do that actually is something that I'm also here to remind you of. I'm here to help you with. And I really would appreciate the opportunity to do that, to help you. Thank you very much for watching, and keep it real.